Hi, my name is Imani Oakley, and I'm running for New Jersey's 10th Congressional District, and this is my Democracy Gauntlet. And now I'm going to talk about digital democracy. As we know, everybody should have a voice in a good democracy. In a good democracy, you have one voice, one vote, and that decides who's going to represent you on every level of government. But we also know that security is a big deal. So how do we fix this? Well, the more options, the better, and the better we get at working on digital security, the more we can make voting accessible for everyone. While online voting is excellent and will certainly be able to expand the amount of people who can vote during elections, we also want to make sure it's absolutely safe, and we're doing all that we can to make sure that we avoid any type of tampering with our democracy. On top of that, we also know that broadband, unfortunately, is not available to everyone in this country. Hopefully, we're going to change that when yours truly gets into office. But we want to make sure that we're giving everybody an option to vote and a manner to vote so that we can have as much participation as possible. With that being said, while I support digital voting, I also support expanding how many polling stations we have, making sure that we can have paper ballots accessible to those who broadband may not be as accessible to, and also making sure that we're expanding mail-in voting and vote by mail, VBMs, so that we can have as many ways to vote as possible in order to have as many people participating in our democracy as we can. And now we're going to talk about voting rights. Listen, in New Jersey, I am no stranger to voter suppression. In New Jersey, we have the most corrupt ballot design in the entire country, where establishment Democrats are placed on one long column and challengers, who are typically progressives working outside the machine to bring you more progressive policy, are placed in random places on the ballot, known as ballot Siberia. So coming from a state like this, it's really, really offensive to me when any type of voter suppression is brought out in our society, whether that be through gerrymandering, whether that be through voter purges, whether that be through making it harder to register to vote, whether that be through racist voter ID laws. None of these things are things that I am for. I am for full democracy. And therefore, as your Congresswoman, I will be fighting to make sure, using my powers under the Elections Clause, to make sure that we have fair ballots all across this country, making sure that we have automatic voter registration for all those who turn 18 and are ready to vote and participate in our democracy, making sure that everyone's vote is counted and not just those with a lot of land in certain areas of America and those in cities across America having less of a vote. With that being said, I want to get rid of the Electoral College so that we can make sure that every single person's vote counts just as much as everyone else's in this country. Moreover, I would like to make sure that we have fair redistricting, no more gerrymandering, no more making districts that are in favor of one party or another. Everybody should have a say. This is what a good democracy is like, and these are the things that I'm going to fight for and bring to you as your Congresswoman. And now I'm going to talk about ranked choice voting. As you all know, I am a huge advocate for good democracy. Everyone should have a voice, no matter whether they're a person of color, no matter whether they're working class, no matter where they live in this country or what is their zip code, they should be able to participate in our democracy to the fullest extent. Therefore, I am a very big advocate of ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting will allow more choices. It will also allow for progressive candidates to probably be able to get through and be able to fight for the policies for people like us and everyday people who live in our communities and our neighborhoods. And therefore, if someone were to ask me, I would respond that I am absolutely in favor of ranked choice voting. And now I'm going to talk about freedom of the press and whistleblower rights. During my time in New Jersey, when I was fighting against the machine, I brought one of the earliest full-on leftist podcasts that focused on exposing the exploitation, the cronyism, and the corruption of New Jersey's machine. And that podcast was called Upfront Now, and it was in partnership with Eyes on NJ News. I am a full advocate for the press to be able to report on anything they want, as long as it's not slander or illegal in any way. This, again, allows us to have a full-on democracy where everyday people can have a true say on what our representatives and what our governments are doing to represent us. Similarly, I believe that whistleblowers should be protected. We don't want a government that is infringing on the rights of people. And if they are, we should protect those who expose that. We want a democracy where everybody is protected from corruption of all forms. And that's why I'm in favor of a free press, as well as protecting whistleblowers when they come forward and reveal something that the government is doing that does not sit right with the people. And now I'm going to talk about election reform. Listen, as a progressive, I know how difficult it is to raise money. We don't take money from corporate PACs. We don't take money from greedy developers. We are fully grassroots funded, and we're working off of the money that people like you give us. Having money in politics is an absolute disgrace, and it makes it very, very difficult for everyday people just like you and me to get into office and run for and represent our neighborhoods and our communities. This has to end. That's why I'm in favor of public funds for elections, as well as a supporter of H.R. 1 for the People's Act that will help to bring about election reform in many different ways. And as your congresswoman, I will certainly get into office and I will fight vigorously to make sure that it passes and to make sure that everyday people have just as much chance of getting into office as the rich, the wealthy, and the politically connected. And now I'm going to talk about the Electoral College. As somebody who, once again, comes from a state where certain votes of the politically connected and the wealthy matter more than the working class and everyday people, I want to make sure that everyone has a say and can have that say with their vote. Right now, with the Electoral College, there are swaths of land that have more of a say in our democracy than people on the coast or people in cities. And that has got to change. As your congresswoman, I will absolutely support abolishing the Electoral College so that we can make sure that all people in our nation have a say in who is representing them, who is running their government, and who is passing policies that will intimately affect their everyday lives.